The New York Mets and Pete Alonso reportedly in talks once again. Steve Cohen's candid comments on Amazin Day about the exhausting negotiations, especially compared to the Juan Soto deal, seem to have opened the door for renewed discussions. But if Alonso and his agent Scott Boras are back at the table, should they tread carefully and avoid upsetting the richest owner in baseball once again? Welcome to a fresh episode of Mets Post. Let's dive in. The story of Pete Alonso and the Mets is nothing new. Every relationship has bumps on the road that make both sides question whether they're better off apart. It's natural. But when the interest is still there, both sides are usually willing to sacrifice for the greater good of the relationship. And that's exactly where the Mets and Pete Alonso stand today. Pete Alonso has repeatedly said he wants to stay in New York, and it makes sense for several reasons. He's a homegrown talent and a key part of the Mets lineup despite his recent struggles. But the biggest unrealized reason? Alonso's value is likely far lower on the open market than he believes. The reality is that not many teams see Alonso as the complete first baseman he thinks he is, and his decision to hire Scott Boras might have made things more complicated. Turning down the Mets' 7-year, $158 million offer could become one of his biggest regrets, and could be what's standing in his way right now as he searches for a deal like that again. Which is possible. If he signs with the Mets and balls out next season, there could be a world where he opts out next year and cashes in on a huge contract with either the Mets or another franchise. The Mets' most recent offer was a 3-year deal worth $70 million. Given the market and Alonso's actual value, it's not terrible. As I discussed in a previous video, Alonso's past 2 seasons haven't been inspiring, and with the Mets looking at other options, such as Spencer Torkelson, who is 25 years old, has a bright future ahead of him despite his struggles last season, but apparently the Tigers are looking for a big haul for him, so he may not be a sure option for the Mets. They've also checked in on Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Yandy Diaz, and Ryan Mountcastle, and it's clear that the front office is focused on building a winning roster, whether that includes Pete Alonso or not. And speaking of roster moves, the Mets recently added Nick Madrigal and re-signed pitcher Ryan Stanek, further bolstering their depth and competitive outlook for the 2025 season. The pressure is now squarely on Pete Alonso and Scott Boras. After their counteroffer to the Mets, Steve Cohen bluntly stated, "I don't like the negotiations. I don't like what's been presented to us." He also mentioned, prior to that, "I don't like the structures that are presented back to us. I think it's highly asymmetric against us, and I feel strongly about it." Alonso and Boras need to tread carefully this time around. It feels like Cohen has drawn a line in the sand and is warning them not to cross it. While we know Boras is known for pushing boundaries, will Alonso let it get that far, or should he swallow his pride and honor his desire to stay in Queens? What do you think of the latest Alonso news and rumors? Are you as exhausted by the drama as the Mets seem to be? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, I'm Bryan Cameron, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Mets Post. Let's go Mets.